Online, you can see Hall of Fame speaker Scott Halford do this awesome exercise where he has people pair up, and then he has them look each other in the eye, and then while they're looking each other in the eye, he says, I want you to smile at each other. And while they're looking and smiling, he says, I want you to shake hands with each other. And while they're looking, smiling, and shaking, he says, I want you to pat each other on the shoulder. And then while you're looking, smiling, shaking, and patting, he says, I want you to look your partner in the eye and say, I don't like you very much. And the way he sets it up, the whole group just loses it with laughter. And it's funny because it's not what people are expecting. He follows it up with, when what we say and what we do are incongruent, people know it. Of course. Now, there's a lot we could dive into based on that one exercise alone. But in this video, we're going to talk about why we feel thrown off when something happens that we don't expect. And it has to do with predictions. Some time ago, we figured out as we evolved that prediction was better for our survival than reaction. Our brains evolved to become prediction machines. We're unaware of this process, and it's meant for our protection, namely by overseeing the budgeting of energy. For those of you who are interested, most of what I share about the brain today comes from the most cited neuroscientist on the planet, Lisa Feldman Barrett. Neuroscientists discovered that our interactions in the world are from a series of predictions that cause us to act rather than our senses causing us to act. Let me explain. The brain prepares us for action first and routes the predictions to your sensory systems, which predict your feelings and sensations. Your brain is wired to initiate your actions before you're aware of them. Any other way and we would be too slow to survive. Let me say that another way. The predictions happen prior to you becoming aware of the actual sensory information. The sensory information is basically confirming or disconfirming the prediction that you experience as your reality. So if you predict correctly, which we do most of the time, your neurons are already firing in the pattern that matches the incoming data. What you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel are completely constructed in your head. So we notice novel situations when they are disconfirming. It might feel like we seem to sense first and act second, but what neuroscientists are uncovering is that the opposite is true. So then where do our brains get the data to put the predictions together? It's simple, really. It comes from our past experiences and how they align with the current environment. So as facilitators and leaders of teams, what can you do to help lead groups to the outcomes that they want? Let's discuss some tools that you can use to your advantage. And take a moment to like and subscribe if you get something out of this video because it helps us out. Let's talk about past experiences first. In the past, when something you did like thanking someone or not touching a hot stove led to a perceived positive outcome, your memory holds that as a confirming point to do it again in that type of situation. And if something you did led to a negative perceived outcome, you hold that memory as something not to do again in that situation. In literally thousands of micro moments during your day, your brain is trying to predict what is going to happen next as a way to budget energy. And it's based on whatever similar situations you've encountered before. This all happens largely without your intent. But the data for your past situations are based on your experiences. And you have some control over how you perceive your experiences. For instance, did you perceive your no-go experiment as a failure or a step to build on, or something you learned from? Memories aren't like files in your computer. We assemble them in our mind every time we conjure them up. They're put together from chemical reactions and electrical pulses. And you can shape how you experience memory. In fact, it's a big part of trauma work with victims. It takes practice and mental reps to start adding up your experiences in ways that you want to shape them. So what can you do? As a facilitator, you can signpost during your meetings. At every chance, point out when the group has made progress. Even better, take a moment to have them acknowledge on their own what they just accomplished. Teams aren't typically good at doing this for themselves, but help them start getting in mental reps. This not only helps them see progress, but they also experience an increase in the neuromodulator dopamine, which motivates them to want to do more of what they just did. And it's closely tied to a Teresa Amabile's progress principle. When the group sees progress on meaningful work, the progress becomes the single biggest motivator towards positive inner work life and a desire to do more. It's self-reinforcing. And maybe even more important is reflection. At the end of every gathering, whether written or verbal, be sure to schedule in time for a moment of reflection. The question I like to ask is, what are you personally going to take away from this experience today? The way that you leave an experience is often how you remember it. The reflection is a chance for you to help root the experience the way you want it to be. Research has shown that putting words to your experience helps define the experience and allows the feeler to distance from the feeling and gain the new perspective they seek. Now, assuming you led well, this becomes a mental rep that helps build for the future. I'm curious. Let me know what questions you use for reflections in the comments below. Now, as leaders, we can also do some things to shape the environment. The environment triggers or cues the predictions and group habits. This video is not meant to be exhaustive about environments. Perhaps we'll do one on environments in the future. But when it comes to predictions, there are some easy things you can control. If the brain is managing for survival and energy budgeting, then be sure to cover the little things that might be a threat or energy issue. So, 1, cover basic needs. For instance, for new people, it's simple, but point out where the restrooms are. And if the additional exits aren't clear, just point them out in your intro. It's brief, but it eliminates something to worry about. And have snacks and drinks. Someone may not have eaten because they rushed in, or they may need something while they're there, or they may not be scheduled to eat after. It's so simple. I don't know why schools and offices don't make food more of a given for performance. Next, number 2, remove uncertainty. Let them know what they will be doing. Keep them on time. And one of my all-time favorites, make sure they know they have been given explicit permission to do the work they are there to do. And make sure they know their roles. Remove uncertainty. And 3, use surprise when it makes sense, like when you want to make something novel or increase curiosity, especially when it comes to raising alertness for creativity or new learning. Use the fact that we're predicting animals to your advantage. Those are just a few ways to shift your environment. Leave a comment below if you've done something to help calm or agitate the predictive nature of your team environments. Your brain is a prediction machine because it helps us more than being a reaction machine. And our predictions initiate action before we are aware of the senses that cause them. And since they are based on our past experiences and our current environments, as leaders, we need to make sure we are doing our best to help our colleagues and our business teams remember those experiences in ways that move them toward their values, and we should build our environments to support that. And now that you know this, be someone people learn from, not confirm from. And win the day, y'all. Sincerely, your #1 sidekick.